to the end zone. Oh, what a catch! Devontae Smith, touchdown, Alabama.
Watch out for Mr. Robinson. This kid is going to be special and is already flashing.
This is Chasing the Natty, a college football fantasy podcast.
All right, good morning, everybody. So this is, you'll realize that Xavier's not there at the moment. That's because he's more than likely resting from a long week at work. But so yesterday was announced that there was going to be a second mock draft among industry experts, and this time we were actually invited to participate in this one. And so I kind of got this idea this morning that what if I recorded each time I was making a pick? That way you guys could see like what's going through my mind, what what thought processes are going through while I am participating in this draft. So this is just kind of off the cuff. I'm sure I'd love to get Xavier here for a couple of the picks and everything, see what his thoughts and everything are. But yeah, this will be just this is not all at once. This is going to be a multi-day task. The draft is going to be taking place over multiple days. And so every time I come in here to make a pick, I will be turning this on and I will be, just explaining to you guys my thought process and everything, what exactly I'm doing. I feel like that'd be just a more interesting way to kind of look at this now that I'm actually participating in the draft rather than me just us reacting to it afterwards. So yeah, a couple of things I want to note here is who's running the draft. Mike Bainbridge, who is on Twitter at mbainbridge CFF. He's a great guy. He invited me to participate in this draft. He wanted to get some new blood in there. He also wanted to try to get some different people. Like you'll notice that when we go through all the people who are here, there's a lot of different names, a couple of the same names. Like Mike Bainbridge is participating in this again. You'll see CFF champs, CFF guys. They were in the last one as well. But a lot of the names here you also see are new. And so they're trying to get as many different perspectives as they can. And so I do want to go ahead and mention who all is in this draft. So first we have Matt Wisp, who is on Twitter at Wispy the Kid. We have CFF Champs, who's at CFF Champs like last time. Kevin Mount, who is at DFS_CFB Guru. We have John Mechny, who is at Johns_Tailgate. We have the CFF guys at CFF guys. We have FBS Fantasy Foot, FBS Fantasy Foot. Mike Bainbridge himself will be participating. He is at mbainbridge CFF, as I mentioned before. We have Nick Grays, who is at NickGrays44 on Twitter. We have Justice, who is at Justice_2318. We have Austin, who is a great guy, runs the Campus Canton website. If you haven't been over there, there's some great tools over there. You guys totally should check it out. He is at Devi Deets. That is DEVYDEETS. All this will be down in the description. Don't worry about misspelling it or anything. We do have Brad, who is at DW_BMAC. And then we have CFB Dynasty at CFB Dynasty. And then you have me right there on the screen at CFF Jared. You guys know where to find me if you've already found this channel. So we'll go through a couple of things I want to note here first. And the first thing is that I have been placed at the turn. And if you don't know what that means, it means that we're in a snake draft and the order of people is going to change every single round. So I'll be last to pick in the first round, but I'll be the first to pick in the second round. So I'll have 2 picks in a row. I mentioned in the past mock that the turn is very powerful. Maybe not here at the beginning, because again, a lot of people are like, they have their guys that they're kind of shooting for. But as we get further in, you're going to start to see some runs where people start taking wide receiver after wide receiver, running back after running back, QB after QB. In the last mock draft, we had a tight end run in like the 11th round or something like that. So at the turn, I can use that to help kind of set the tone of what the round's going to be. Because if a run's coming into me, I can use my 2 picks in a row to end that run and then try to start another run. So, yeah. Another thing I did want to note is what are the picks? What am I drafting for? So this is going to be a redraft league. There are going to be 16 rounds. The roster format is going to be 2 QB, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and 8 bench. Now, effectively, that's the same as what we had last time, except what's interesting this time is that there are no flex positions. So you take away those 2 flex positions, we have 2 more bench spots, which is going to be a little bit, like if this is a real league, I would prefer the flex, but the mock draft, I think, is going to make it interesting because, again, once you get to your bench, that's when you start kind of, not necessarily reaching, but you kind of go for more of your guys. Like when somebody's on your bench, you're a little bit less hesitant to take them because if they don't pan out well, you just drop them. They're not part of your starting roster. You can go pick up somebody off the waiver wire. So I do think that's going to make it just a little bit more interesting, especially once we get into the later rounds, once people have filled out their starting rosters. So yeah. Next thing I do want to note is when you are doing drafts like this, I think it's always important to, now you obviously don't have to be like me. Like I have 60 QBs rated here. Like you'll see here on the left here, I have 60 QBs rated here. Actually, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see that just a little bit better. So I have 60 QBs here ranked here. You don't have to be like me. I'm obsessed with this kind of stuff. You don't have to be like me. But I do think it's always a great idea to go into your league just having at least a list of 20 to 30 guys at each position, 20, 30 guys at each position that you've kind of done a little bit of research into, or at the very least you've seen them high on experts rankings and stuff like that. Like have a plan going into every draft. You don't have to stick to the plan. Like I'll explain this a little bit more in a second, but you don't have to stick to the plan letter to letter or anything like that. But it just helps you be so much more prepared when you have a list of people just to look at and be like, okay, I can look through here. And so again, I have this all done for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. I do have kickers and DST rankings, but we're not going to get into that right now because of the fact that kickers and DSTs are not part of this draft. And so here, let me just go ahead and zoom in all of these. Whoop. And zoom that in. All right, so yeah, zoom all that in. Now, what to do after you have all the rankings laid out, spread out, you just take it. If your QB1's available, you just take your QB1, or if your running back 1's available, you just take your running back 1. No. So here's what I do every time I go into a draft. I have my rankings, like here listed out, and then I have another table, which I have right here. I list all the positions that I'll be drafting. And what I do is, typically what I do is I rate my top 3 available at each position. Now, because I'm at the turn, I'm going to have a lot longer time in between my picks that are round to round. So like obviously I'll have 2 picks in a row, but after that second pick, I wait, 23 picks. If I did the math in my head correctly there, I have 23 picks before I get to pick again. So I'm gonna at least for these positions like QB, running back, and wide receiver, I'm gonna just rate my rate my top 5 that are still available for right now, just so I have a bit more clear picture of what's down the line. What can I possibly wait on? Maybe. Even still, you'll still see me kind of go back and forth between my actual rankings and see, again, because I'm waiting so long, I might have to look a little bit farther down my rankings. Like, okay, if I take a wide receiver now, what are wide receivers going to look like 23 picks from now? Or if I take wide receiver now and I want to get a QB with my next pick, what QBs are probably going to be available to me? So again, that's just the kind of things you got to be thinking about. Now, obviously, in a real draft, you got to be on your feet. I know a lot of leagues do kind of long form drafts, but I do a lot of leagues where you have 45 seconds to a minute to make a pick. So that's first of all, that's why you should do mock drafts when they're available to you on a website like Fantrax. I forget if Yahoo offers them, but when you have that available to you, use it, please. Like, just getting practice in is so important. And so, yeah. I think that's pretty much me laying it out. I've already been going on for 10 minutes. Good Lord, I can speak for a while. So yeah, that's just me kind of explaining the setup and everything, like what else going to happen here. Again, I will be back on and recording whenever it finally gets to my pick, which is looking like it's not for a while. I guess a little sneak peek here. The first pick was Malik Willis, and I maintain that no matter what your format is, Malik Willis ought to be your first pick this year. If not, you're getting a steal. Even if you're getting him at the second pick, you're getting a steal. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for right now. I guess I'm just gonna wait until next time, and like when I get to next time, I'll go through like who was picked and everything. And I think, again, I'm just trying something out here. If it works, please tell me. So yeah, I guess I'll go over all that at the very end and everything. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll see you guys at the next pick. All right, y'all. So here we are at the first pick, or my first and second picks. I'm going to be doing both of them back to back, as we'll be doing pretty much throughout the rest of the draft. And so, yeah, I'm kind of a little hot right now because I was really, really hoping that I would see Dustin Crum fall to the number 12 pick. And then I was like, I saw him get taken at the 10. I'm like, okay, not the most unexpected thing in the world. But I was hoping he would fall just a little bit more. And then the number 11 pick, I was hoping I would be able to take Sincere McCormick, and well, there he goes. Dylan Gabriel, I like him a lot. I was not ready to take him, and so now I have to kind of sit here and think, what am I going to do? So we'll go over to my rankings, and we'll see who's left available for me. Let's see. Actually, I need to add a QB here. Desmond Ridder, I think. Nope, Desmond Ridder is already on here. Bryce Young. Go ahead and put Bryce Young in here. So, in terms of running backs, wide receivers, and everything, here's my thought process. I'm not going to go ahead and take a QB because out of these QBs here, pretty much all of them are kind of similar range here, and I bet at the next turn, I am going to be able to get at least one of these guys. And even still, let's see, like below Bryce Young, yeah, or Dylan Gabriel, he's gone. But Brennan Thompson, Virginia, I think would be a good one. Carson Strong, Derek King. I'd be happy pretty much any of those, getting them at the end of the third round. So what I'm not as excited about is the drop off in wide receiver talent. This is a half PPR league. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. This is a half PPR league, so receptions are going to count here. And one thing that I'm going to want to get a slice of the pie of is the fact that these top receivers here, I mean, you're looking at a group of you're looking at a group of great top group of receivers that to me kind of drops off in terms of their guarantee as you quickly go. And if the last draft was anything to go off of, we are probably going to be seeing a run of wide receivers here in the second round. So what I'm going to do is with the round 2 pick, I'm probably going to go ahead and take the wide receiver there. So now that all that determines is who do I take, and I think I'm going to go ahead and take a running back because Xavier's mentioned this in the past, and I fully agree with him that if you do not get yourself a strong group of running backs, you're going to be in trouble very quickly. And so I'm going to go take a look at the running backs I have available and see what I can do. Now, what I'm also looking to do, again, I want to get a strong group of running backs. And so what I'm going to do is on the next turn that I am going to be involved in, I'm going to probably take a QB, and I'm probably going to take another running back at that spot now that I've got a top wide receiver here. And I can tell you the name right here, DeMontre Tuggle. I raved about him in our last video, or in the first mock draft analysis. I raved about DeMontre Tuggle. I love this guy. He's a top 12 QB or top 10 running back. For me, for some reason he's going a lot later in draft, so I'm going to try to see if I can just tease it a little bit more, see if I can get him in the third and fourth round turn. So I'm going to hold off on him for a little bit. But so let's determine who I'm going to pick up at running back. So these are the 3 names that I'm really looking at. I have Kyren Williams ranked number 2 overall, but I've been kind of feeling a little bit iffy on that because Notre Dame does have some really good running back talent there, and he does kind of disappear some games. So I think I'm going to hold off on him. Ooh, I forgot to mention Sincere McCormick, gone. So get rid of him. And so to me, it really comes down to Isaiah Spiller or Ronnie Rivers, and I like them both a lot. I really, really do. But this is a half PPR league. So let's see. God, I like both of these guys a lot. I'll go ahead and decide on what wide receiver I'm going to do. I'm probably going to go Marvin Mims. He's kind of the guy I've been kind of eyeing here, and him and Spencer Rattler clearly have a really good connection. There's clearly something special there. I want to build off of that going into this next year, especially with Theo Howard gone, Charleston Rambo gone. I can only imagine that Marvin Mims is going to be getting more reps, and I can only see his and Rattler's relationship growing and him getting even more targets. So he's going to be the wide receiver I'm going after here. I like the other guys. I like Calvin Austin. I like Romeo Doubs. I like Drake London. I like all these guys. We're in the first round. Like I clearly like every single one of these wide receivers I'm going to like. But I'm going to probably go Marvin Mims. And then Ronnie Rivers or Isaiah Spiller. You know what? Again, half PPR league. I'm going to look up real quick the receptions each of them had last year. Whoever has more receptions, I'm probably going to be looking at. So Isaiah Spiller. And then we're going to go Ronnie Rivers. I should probably do receptions per game. All right, so get out of here. So let's see. Isaiah Spiller had 20 receptions, and he played, I believe, 10 games. No, 9 games. No, 10. Yeah, 10 games here. So that's 2 receptions per game. Not grand. And let's see, 27 receptions for Ronnie Rivers, and get out of here. If I remember correctly.
We've rethought every step you take to get into a new
Get rid of
Infinity.
these ads.
From online purchase and leasing
Where
to
is
test
that coming
drives that
from?
come to you. Experience a new way to buy an Infinity. Infinity now.
This is so annoying. I'm sorry, y'all. All right, 27 receptions and all their games. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stop. Okay, so that's 27 receptions for 6 games. You're looking at 4.5 receptions per games. We're gonna have to go Ronnie Rivers here, I think. So, with my picks, we are going to be doing, with the first round pick, I will be doing Ronnie Rivers out of Fresno State. And then with my second pick, I'm going to try to see if I can start a run of wide receivers here early and see if it kind of gets people off that by the time it comes back around, and maybe I can save some wide receivers there. So, Ronnie Rivers at the 112, and then Marvin Mims at the 2-1. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys in the next pick. All right, y'all. So we're back again. So last time, if you remember, I took Ronnie Rivers with my first round pick, and then immediately afterwards, I took Marvin Mims. And while Ronnie Rivers, I think, is a very solid running back, I think by far I am much more thankful of the fact that I went ahead and took a wide receiver at that turn, because if you remember, I was kind of debating maybe if the right quarterback fell to that position, would I take them there? And I'm kind of partially glad that I didn't have to make that consideration, because after that you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers go after that point. And by the time it came back to me, 10, yeah, you had 10 other wide receivers go off the board. And effectively, if I hadn't taken a wide receiver there, I would have been out of wide receiver ones to choose from. So yeah, I'm glad I took Marvin Mims there. And so what I ended up doing with this round, I'm actually recording this after the fact that I've made these picks. I had made these picks while I was out of the house. And so I wish I could have done it live, but I'll go ahead and explain to you my thought process here. And so, again, when you get to the turn, you have 2 picks in a row. And so I kind of narrowed it down between what 2 positions do I need to take somebody from here. And so I immediately took out tight end because, again, same story as the last round or the last turn. It's too early for tight ends, not even to consider them. So then it came down between running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. Who do I take at that point? Or who do I not take here at the turn? And so I kind of went through each of my rankings. And what I found was that I have a lot of running backs that I am still very high on that are still available here. And I could get some good value here even if I took them. However, I realized that I think it's 25 picks later, there's still going to be a lot of these guys still available. And there's a lot of these guys that I'm still very willing to have behind Ronnie Rivers. I think it'd make a great combination. Demontre Tuggle, you guys know me, I love Demontre Tuggle. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until the next turn where I'm probably going to double up on running backs. I'll just go running back in the next turn and get some value there. Because I highly doubt that among all these guys that are still available, like Master Teague, Rashad White, Demontre Tuggle, Kevin Harris, Brian Robinson Jr., Jarek Brassard, Tyler Goodson, Traylon Smith, a lot of good guys still here available. If they're all gone by the next turn in the next 25 picks, I just have extremely bad luck. That's pretty much it. And there's a chance I'm willing to take on. Now, wide receiver, I'm not willing to take that risk here. So it came down to, again, I'm not willing to take the risk on wide receiver because I think the wide receiver, the value of wide receivers drops much more than it does for a quarterback or running back this year. So I determined I probably needed to go ahead and get myself another wide receiver. And so it came down between Zay Flowers out of Boston College and Chris Olave of Ohio State. And out of those two, I already picked Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma. And I wanted to go ahead and pick up another wide receiver out of a great offense. And Chris Olave is going to be coming back, and I think is going to try to prove himself as much as he can. Like, he didn't have to come back this year. He's a first-round wide receiver easily this year if he had gone to the draft. I highly doubt he would be coming back for another season if he wasn't guaranteed the production that we could possibly be seeing out of him. So I went ahead with Chris Olave. I think CJ Stroud is going to be a great. I think he's going to be a great combo with him. If I could possibly get him later on, I'm still deciding on who I'm trying to aim for at that second quarterback position. We'll see how that goes. But speaking of which, I did take my first QB of the draft, and he went a little later last draft. But based on the trends I was seeing here, was that quarterbacks were going a little bit earlier than they did in the last draft. So what really spooked me was Brad here taking Sam Howell at the 311. And I remember kind of where Sam Howell went in the last draft, and I knew Desmond Ridder would not be taken far behind him. So I just went ahead and took Desmond Ridder as my quarterback number 1. Now, going forward, again, I've already explained, because I didn't take running back here, and I think I can get great value at the next turn at running back, I'm probably going to double up on running back there. That could change. You already see my strategy's already changed because I was already planning on taking Demontre Tuggle here. However, it seemed like there was a bit more. It was a bit more urgent for me to take a wide receiver and a quarterback at this turn, so I figured I could push that off for another turn. Still probably get Demontre Tuggle and another great running back to pair up with Ronnie Rivers. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And then going really far ahead to the next turn where I'll be picking for the 7th and 8th rounds, I'm probably going to be looking at getting my last starting wide receiver, depending on who's still left. I think we'll still have some pretty good options there to kind of team up there. And then I'd like to get a second QB there if I can, or if the value's right. I would say probably go wide receiver QB again there. That's kind of what I'm thinking. maybe running back if I want to fill out that last flex position and really solidify that. But honestly, I think it's probably going to be next term we'll go running back, and then term after that, wide receiver QB, just like we did here. So a little bit of a pattern going on here. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Good morning, everybody. So here we are for our picks for rounds 5 and 6. We're back at the turn. So I'll kind of go over quickly who all was taken since my last picks. And so I went ahead and got my wide receiver 2 in the last pick with Chris Olave, as well as my QB1, Desmond Ridder. And honestly, to me, those are good choices because, again, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, DTR, Grayson McCall, Derek King, Keaton Slovis, Brock Purdy, interesting take here. I thought that he went a little early. Bailey Zapp, not a huge fan there. I think he's a little early. However, I think it was a good choice for me to go ahead and take my first QB because we're already looking at several things here that indicate that QBs are kind of coming off the board. And so you can see here, only Casey Thompson on my QB1s is still available. And honestly, I'm still not sold on my opinion on that, I'll be honest. But enough about what happened last time, what's happened since then. Let's talk about who we're going to take here now. Last time I mentioned I'm probably going to double up on running back here. And I had a little hesitation on this because I forgot that there's no flex in this league. So anybody I take past the starting roster is just going to go straight to my bench. And while I'm hesitant to take somebody on my bench here this early, I have to point out that 2 of my top running backs are still available in Rachaad White and Demontre Tuggle. I'm definitely going to take Demontre Tuggle here. I think, first of all, I think he's already been taken way too low in some drafts, and somebody needs to start the trend that Demontre Tuggle belongs in these early rounds. And then secondly, looking at the other positions, I'm looking at tight end. Nobody's taken a tight end yet, of course, and so I'm not taking anybody until I start seeing a run of tight ends, in which then I'll hop on the train there. So tight end off the board. Wide receiver, I have my wide receiver 1 and 2, and there's still plenty of good options here. I think I could get a little bit later that I think will be good value there. And then quarterback, I could. This is where I'm a little hesitant. I could get a running back and a quarterback here. However, I think I can hold off here and get some good value even into the QB3s. And so honestly, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double dip in running back here because already you can see a lot of my running back 2s are going as well. And so honestly, I'm just going to go ahead and get my value here in Rachaad White and Demontre Tuggle. I think I'm going to just double dip here, have a solid running back room, and I think that's the way I'm going to build this team around. It's just solid running back room, and then we'll see what value I can get at wide receiver and quarterback in the upcoming rounds. So I'll see you guys in rounds 7 and 8, 7 and 8. All right, y'all. So here we are in the 7th round, and so basically, after making the double dip at running back in the last round, I kind of picked out 3 guys that I was planning on drafting at this next turn, who, if 2 out of the 3 were available, I was going to draft just 2 of them. So at quarterback, I had my eye on Preston Hutchinson out of Eastern Michigan. At running back, I had Tyler Goodson I had Dwayne McBride out of UAB. And at wide receiver, I had Eric Ezukanma, who was one of my last wide receivers available in my tier 2 of wide receivers. I would go ahead and get Joshua Moore, but I think I can get him a little bit later. I'm already getting burned on that a little bit, but because out of those 3 guys, I lost. First, I lost Preston Hutchinson. He was taken at the 7-4. 3 picks later, Dwayne McBride goes at UAB, and I'm like, okay, I need to replace my quarterback pick and my running back pick that I would like to take here. So I went with Miles Brennan out of LSU. That's who I'm thinking about picking up. I think he'll pair nicely with the more running quarterback that Desmond Ridder is. So I like that kind of combo with him. And so I kind of put him up there, and then I put Tyler Goodson to replace Dwayne McBride. I'm like, okay, we're going to go with that. Right before my pick, Tyler Goodson goes. I'm like, crap. So I got sniped. I told CFP Dynasty that. And so now I have to make my decision on who I'm going to make. I've already made my decision. I'm going to go Miles Brennan, and I'm going to go Eric Ezukanma. So Eric Ezukanma is probably one of the best wide receivers left on the board still, and I can go ahead and fill out my starting wide receiver core. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my second QB here while I'm at it. And so at the 7-13, I will be taking Miles Brennan. And then at the 8-1, I'm going to go ahead and take my third wide receiver, Eric Ezukanma, in order to fill out my starting lineup. And from here, I can just go ahead and worry about my bench from here on out. So, yeah. See you guys in the next picks. Hey, y'all. So, back again with the 9th and 10th round picks, and I'll be honest, I'm recording this much later than I meant to. I was actually out when I made these picks, and I forgot to record them when I got home. So I'm over here. I ended up coming back and taking quarterback Casey Thompson and Joshua Moore here, and because I'm now into the bench, I'm kind of going back and forth between some sleepers that I might want to do, but also I'm really just going for value where I can get it, especially in this later round. And you'll see here on my wide receivers, the only wide receiver left that I had as wide receiver 2 was Joshua Moore. I want to go ahead and get him, and Casey Thompson I've rated as a QB1, and if both of them were there, and I was like, they were so much more valuable than anybody else left on the board at that point. So I just went ahead and took them. Now, in terms of what I'm planning to do next, like when it comes back around, I got my eye on running back again. I'm going to double dip in running back again because Brian Robinson Jr. out of Alabama is still available, and I know there's a lot of people out there that do not believe that even if Brian Robinson Jr. is the starter at running back at Alabama at the beginning of the year, he's not going to be by the end of the year. I happen to disagree. I think Brian Robinson Jr. is a very, very good running back, and I fully expect to see him take over that starting position and prove a lot of people wrong. So I think he's great value at this point. And then below him, you got Traylon Smith from Arkansas, who I am absolutely shocked he's still available on the board right now. And I'm going to have to, if these two are both available here at this next pick, I'm going to have to take them. Even I expect a tight end run here soon, but I'm fully willing to wait on a tight end if it means that I get to add some running back depth from the starting running back of Alabama and Traylon Smith, who was a monster at the end of last season. So yeah, those are the two guys I'll be looking out for. There's still a lot of picks between where we're at and where I am. So we got 1, 2, 3. And so you got about 15 picks between there and back to me. But given that these guys have already fallen so far, I guess these guys just aren't going to be taken. So I'll probably be proven wrong. But again, those are the two I'm probably going to be going with on this next pick. Trying to think, is there anybody else to be willing to take? Again, if one of them's taken, I'll probably just go tight end, especially if a tight end run has begun. Wide receivers, I already got a backup wide receiver, so I'll probably wait a little bit longer on my backup wide receiver. Quarterbacks, I'm probably going to end up getting Skylar Thompson late. I'm shocked that he's fallen this far. Yeah, I mean, yeah, those are the main ones right now. So yeah, these next two pick, I'm aiming for Brian Robinson Jr. and Traylon Smith because that's insane value this late in the draft for me. So see you guys for round 11 and 12. All right, y'all, welcome back. So we're just doing our round 11 and 12 picks here. So to review, since what has happened since last time, I took Casey Thompson and Joshua Moore, double dipping into the Texas market there. And so taking a look at what happened since then, Caleb Elby went off the board. I was hoping to get him a little bit later. But that was good. That was a good pick by Brad there. He actually got two really good picks here, as I'll explain here in a second. Sky Moore, also another Western Michigan product, gone. Tanner Mordecai, he's gone too. The big thing here is that our first tight ends have started coming off the board. So Greg Dulcich out of UCLA was the first one taken, which I thought was kind of interesting. Charlie Collar is gone. A couple of good wide receivers and running backs taken there. Again, here you got your tight ends going. I was hoping to get Sam Pinckney coming back here maybe, but no, he's gone. And you got three good tight ends right there off the board. Four actually with Isaiah Likely. And then I was really hoping I could double dip with Brian Robinson and Traylon Smith and just really solidify my running back room. But Brad sniped Brian Robinson on me 2 picks before my pick. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to keep going. I'm going to take Traylon Smith because it is a crime that he has fallen this far. That man was a monster going into the end of last year. And I was originally going to wait on tight end if Brian Robinson did fall to me, but because Brian Robinson is now taken, I'm going to go ahead and just grab my tight end here before they're all gone. And so I think I got nailed down to 2. So if we look at my rankings here, Isaac Rex to me is a is my top tight end still available. Will Mallory, while I do have him ranked highly here, I'd rather go for somebody who's a bit more proven right now. And so that to me leaves me Derek Deese and Sean Dykes here as well. And while I like Derek Deese, he's kind of flying under the radar right now. So I think if I'm going to pick up a backup tight end, which I'm not sure if I'm going to do yet, but if I do, I'll probably aim for him. And probably aim for him. And again, Will Mallory, he's replacing Brevin Jordan. He was really good last year, but I'm not quite ready to take him. So that leaves me Sean Dykes and Isaac Rex. So if I go over here to the Fantrax player profiles I had last year, I brought up all their games. And while Sean Dykes I had on my team last year, and it was really great to just have a solid tight end that you knew was going to get you yards and points every single game, I'm looking at him compared to Isaac Rex. And Isaac Rex, after it looks like October 16th here, I'm not going to say week 4, week something, it was all messed up last year. After October 16th there, not a single bad game from him. In fact, out of these last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, out of these last 7 games, only 2 of them he was in the single digits for, and heck, one of them, he was almost in double digits on that one. So, this guy's a monster. And now, granted, Zach Wilson's gone, so you probably are going to see a little bit of targets change up a little bit in that offense, especially Max Milne is now out. You probably see Gunnar Romney taking more targets there. But there's an old saying that a tight end is a new QB's best friend. And so I have to imagine that Isaac Rex is going to be getting a whole load of targets. The same thing could apply for Sean Dykes here, with Grant Gunnell, Peter Parrish, whoever ends up getting that Memphis starting job. You're going to probably see him get some more targets with that new QB, but also just look at how these first 3 weeks were awesome. I'm just letting you know right now, these first 3 weeks were awesome, but look how much he just went up and down. And even then, the last 5 weeks of the season, he didn't break double digits. So I'm going to have to go Isaac Rex here. Yeah. Those are going to be my 2 picks. I'm going to do Traylon Smith, running back out of Arkansas, and I'm going to do tight end Isaac Rex out of BYU. See y'all in the next round. Hey y'all, so I'm recording these last 4 rounds well after the fact that I made these picks. I've just had a crazy week with some work and schoolwork and stuff like that. So I am a little behind, a little late on this. So I'm just going to go real quickly and take you through these last couple picks. Ooh, what did I just do there? Don't do that. So for the 13-13 pick, I picked quarterback Jaden Daniels out of Arizona State. I think this guy has some serious upside. If I remember, he's a 4-star coming into Arizona State, high 4-star if I remember. And his freshman season, he put on a show. He did well. Not exactly like he wasn't going to be like a top 25 fantasy QB or anything like that. But clearly, like, you could see the potential was there. He could only kind of grow up from there. And so he's got great running ability. And I think he complements my other quarterbacks really well, Desmond Ridder and Miles Brennan being my 2 starters. Casey Thompson, I think, is going to be like, if he is the starter for Texas, that's going to be huge for me to have that starting quarterback in that offensive system with Steve Sarkisian. And so, but there is still a little bit of risk in there. I've been hearing a lot more about Hudson Card possibly taking over that position. And so I thought, just to be safe, I'm going to go with a entrenched starter who has great running ability and has very high upside, and that to me is Jaden Daniels. So after that, very next pick, I needed wide receiver help because while I like my 3 wide receiver picks for starters. I like Joshua Moore, but I really, really needed some depth. I'll be honest, I've not always been the best about drafting good wide receivers. And so I went with who I think is going to be the number 1 wide receiver in the Ole Miss offensive system next year. And even if he's not, like if you end up seeing a lot of split targets and stuff like that, that is an offense that's going to be able to carry more than 1 fantasy relevant wide receiver. And I cannot see Braylon Sanders being outside of those top 2 wide receivers. And I think he adds some great depth here, and he provides me a great piece to a very good offense. The next 2 were my last 2 picks. I picked them back to back because I was at the turn. And I wanted to grab at least 1 more wide receiver and 1 more running back. I thought about grabbing another tight end here, but I kind of thought about it. When you look at the rest of the draft, there's a lot of tight ends that were not drafted that, in my mind, I know that when Isaac Rex's week comes up, I can absolutely drop somebody on my bench for a week and go and pick up a great tight end off the waiver wire. That's something we were all talking about after the draft was over, was tight end is really deep this year compared to other years. And so, and for that reason, I felt like I only needed to draft the 1 tight end. And so from there, it was down to running back and wide receiver. So I figured I'd pick 1 of each. And really, my goal here was to put 2 guys on the board that I hadn't seen a lot of people talk about, that I've been very surprised by. And the first of those was Jalen Mitchell, the running back out of Louisville. He took over after Javian Hawkins opted out near the end of the season. And while he wasn't putting up Javian Hawkins numbers, the dude absolutely just kind of picked up relatively where Javian Hawkins left off. His last 3 games, I believe, were all greater than 100-yard games. To me, Jalen Mitchell will be that running back 1 going into next year in Louisville. And if he can even get close to production that Javian Hawkins was giving the Cardinals last year, this is going to be a steal here at the end of the 15th round. The next pick, I'm a Georgia fan. I wanted to have at least 1 dog on my team. That's usually how I do most drafts. But a lot of the bigger dogs like Zamir White, George Pickens, even JT Daniels, I'd like to have them on their teams. Just where they were falling to me, I wasn't quite ready to pick them up. And so, or I decided other guys ahead of them that I was more willing to go get. And so here in my last pick, where you have a bit more of a my guyism, just shoot your shot, I went with wide receiver Jermaine Burton out of Georgia. I actually had a discussion after I made this pick where somebody was insinuating that Jermaine Burton is the best wide receiver on Georgia's roster, even greater than George Pickens. I disagree, but he made a great argument as to the work ethic of Jermaine Burton, how whether he is involved in the play or not, he is there. He is making sure his job is getting done, and that is going to earn him more targets through this next season. JT Daniels and him clearly had some kind of connection in the Mississippi State game where he threw for did he reach 200 yards receiving in that game? It was close. There was some. Jermaine Burton had a heck of a game that day, and so I'm hoping we can see more breakout performances like that. And I think it's absolutely worth grabbing him here in round 16. So yeah, this is my team. As you can kind of see here. What do I think I could have done? Or I'll go through what I could have done differently, or what I think I could have done better, and then I'm going to go through what I think I did well. And what I could have done better, again, I kind of hinted at earlier. I like my wide receiver room here and everything, but I'm definitely going to need to do a lot more research. And I think I waited a little too long to grab those wide receivers, because I was still getting guys like Traylon Smith, like Jalen Mitchell in past second half of the draft. I probably could have waited on Demontre Tuggle. I wanted to get him early because I wanted to show people that he's worth drafting this high. But ADP wise, I could have played that game a little bit longer and drafted him later. I could have gotten Tyler Goodson almost all the way back here on the turn. Even later, let's see, like who else is here? Brian Robinson, Alabama. That's a great running back I could have picked up later. Greg Bell is another good one. Ladarius Jefferson going in almost the final round. Jaquavius Marks going in the 14th. These are great running backs you could pick up late. Destin Coates, Devontae Price, Terrian Stewart, Frank Gore. These are all guys I got after that. Doubled it. Oh, Chris Smith. That was another good one. I was not shocked when he got picked there, but I realized that like there was still great value on the board that I could have probably waited on when I double dipped into running back here in the 5th and 6th round. And so I probably, if I would have done this differently, I probably would have waited just a little bit longer on these guys. I probably would have gone QB, wide receiver a little bit later here. Or the QB wide receiver probably would have gone here in the 5th and 6th round, and then I would have waited a little bit longer to grab my 2 running backs. Because I think I probably could have gotten both of these guys at 7 and 8. Maybe not Rashad White, but definitely Tuggle. I probably could have gone a little bit later. And then like in terms of which quarterback, which wide receiver I would have probably gone for, let's see who's still available at that point. Jahan Dotson, I think, would have been a great one. Jordan Addison. Yeah, these are a lot of good guys right here. Quarterback, this is the one I was kind of kicking myself on, was Preston Hutchinson. He was the one I was hoping would kind of come back to me here where I got Miles Brennan. I thought if I had Desmond Ridder and Preston Hutchinson, that'd be a great combo. And I still have a great combo here in Desmond Ridder, Miles Brennan, but I probably would have gone Preston Hutchinson here, and then probably would have gone Jahan Dotson there. Yeah, looking at some of these other wide receivers that were taken here, yeah, probably would have gone Jahan Dotson there. So that's what I would have done differently. Again, probably waited a little too long on wide receivers, which is why I kind of invested in a few more on my depth chart than I probably typically would have. Now, in terms of what I think I did well, I love my QB room. I love this QB room. Desmond Ridder, Miles Brennan, I think that's a fantastic combo right there. Again, a lot of people might disagree on the Miles Brennan pick a little bit, but honestly, go back to those first few games before he got hurt. Dude was putting up almost 30 fantasy points a game. This guy, when he's healthy, is going to be near the top of the league in terms of the amount of fantasy points he can be putting up per game. Now, say he does get hurt, I think I have 2 great backups here. Casey Thompson out of Texas. Again, he wins that job in that Sarkisian offense. He's going to produce. Like looking at what Sarkisian did for Alabama and everything, and not saying the talent is the same at Alabama as it is at Texas. However, that system is made to produce. So I like where I got Casey Thompson there. And then Jaden Daniels, I kind of went over him earlier. To me, he's probably my second safest QB here in terms of when you factor in injuries, when you factor in like what his floor is. I think Jaden Daniels is probably my second safest QB here. So even if Miles Brennan gets hurt, even if Casey Thompson doesn't pay off, I think I'd be perfectly comfortable starting Jaden Daniels in games. And so quarterback, I thought I did well. I got Isaac Rex as my tight end. He's going to be one I'd be willing to start every single week outside of his bye weeks, of course. And so I'm perfectly happy there. And then my running back room. Oh, Lord, this running back room, I love it. I have found in recent years that you're having a solid running back room is the best way to make sure that you don't, like, having a solid running back room is what's going to keep you in games most weeks, because wide receivers are a bit more volatile every single week. Like, you can have a guy go off in a game. Like, you can have just crazy games where even like somebody like Marvin Mims, where you'll have 2 or 3 weeks in a row of him getting like 15 plus point games, but then all of a sudden he drops off to like a 2-point game. Running back, you don't see that as much. You see the deviation in their games is a lot smaller, and so having that core of running backs to kind of provide you that floor in the points that you earn every week, I think is extremely important. And looking at this room, Ronnie Rivers, Demontre Tuggle, 2 starting running backs, I would start them every single week. And then Rashad White, Traylon Smith, Jalen Mitchell. Even if all those guys don't work out, my 2 starting running backs are so solid to the point where I can easily kind of start looking around the league, maybe look at the waiver wire and find somebody better. So yeah, this is my team. I'm going to kind of roughly stitch all these together, and I am going to have this kind of be a kind of a special episode of Chasing the Natty. I'm not going to necessarily call it an episode, but I think it'll be probably a YouTube only. I'm going to make this a YouTube only experience. So I appreciate y'all checking in. Please let me know what you guys think. Did I draft a great team? Did I draft a horrible team? Please let me know. I love discussing this kind of stuff with y'all. So I'll see you guys next time we record episode 4. See y'all then. Bye. Hey guys, Jared here. Thanks so much for watching this snippet from Chasing the Natty, a college football fantasy podcast. If you want to see some more of our videos as well as our full shows, right over here on the left, we got links to those. And if you would like to subscribe to the channel, we got a little guy right over here that you can click on. And if you just want to hit the like button, it could be right down there in the corner. You know where to find it. Both of those do so much to help us keep creating this content you guys love. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, y'all.